The most devastating circumstances can yield the most powerful and unexpected forms of hope. In April of 1994, a bike equaled hope. It could have made the difference between life and death for many Rwandans. Over the course of 100 days, any access to a bicycle could have meant escaping a massacre that claimed nearly 1 million lives. As Rwandans fled the country, each excruciating pedal stroke took them closer to life, but farther from loved ones caught in a nightmare of ethnic cleansing. Many Rwandans learned that the narrow escape did not mean an end to their suffering, but a beginning for a country that would rise from the ashes. Rwanda has a rich history of competitive cycling, but that too was a victim of the genocide. Undaunted by the past, a group of passionate young cyclists began reclaiming old racing bikes from Rwanda's bordering countries. In 2005, Tom Ritchie, one of the original creators of the mountain bike, heard about this impassioned group of cyclists. This bicycle legend wanted to see these riders for himself, as well as explore the region on his mountain bike.
aho nabwiraga mukuru wanjye twari turi kumwe nti ndashaka gukina umukino w'amagare ntabwo mu muryango wanjye cyangwa se ababyeyi banjye papa na mama na mushiki wanjye babyumvishaga ariko ngiye numvaga ari ibintu bindimo mukuri muri rusange ushobora gukina umukino w'amagare.
The purpose of the team was to give them a stage where they could do something to take pride in, national pride in.
When I started the cycling, I was having my brother help me. After like 3 months passed away, I was not thinking I'm gonna keep cycling because there was no one to help me.
When I saw how naturally gifted they were in terms of riding within their limitations, of course, I fantasized about what if they had the opportunity. Could they become cyclists that could compete in the world stage, and thought, what's the best starting place? Jacques Boyer was a cyclist from my childhood. Jacques is a good coach.
His name is Jonathan Boyer, but the French call him Jacques Boyer, and he is the first American ever to compete in the Tour de France, a 3-week test of cycling speed and stamina, with climbs equivalent to 3 trips to the summit of Mount Everest.
Tom kept calling me saying, hey, let's go to Rwanda, and I hemmed and hawed, didn't really want to go.
What I saw is somebody that was incredibly pain tolerant and somebody that was somewhat self-destructive.
I went to jail. Jail is, it's not a good place.
He is the most unique individual that I've ever met. That uniqueness in Rwanda seemed to collide in my mind.
For me, it was a real waste to be in a situation where I spent all my life in cycling and not to be able to share that. That was a burden for me. I've always felt I've been given, actually more than a second chance. I've been given many chances.
Fine.
Rwanda is known as the land of 1,000 hills. The hillsides are covered with endless dirt roads and footpaths that make this small African country ideal for the sport of mountain biking. A year after his first visit, Tom Ritchie rallied a handful of professional cyclists and Rwanda advocates to return to Rwanda. They would host the country's very first mountain bike race, called the Wooden Bike Classic. Tom convinced his reluctant friend, Jacques Boyer, to come along on the adventure.
I was intrigued a little bit, but I didn't really know anything about Rwanda. You know, I had to look on a map to see where it was. I didn't hardly know anything about the genocide, so I kind of went reluctantly. I was brought in to look at the talent, actually race with the talent, so I could get an idea of who the riders were. Rwandans, they look athletic, no body fat. If you go by what a rider looks like, these guys really looked like they were riders.
Among the hundreds of cyclists was Adrian Nyanshuti, a tall, thin 18-year-old who began riding just 3 years earlier.
I asked myself, why this many come to do this? It was difficult because it was my first time to ride mountain bike.
These guys came at least 100 kilometers the day before to race this race. That in and of itself was pretty remarkable. And I don't even know how they found out about the race.
My expectation is a lot of crashes and hopefully a bike in one piece by the bottom of the hill, or at least the stadium anyway.
Then I was so scared to race with them.
Didn't really know what to think in the beginning. I was racing, Tom was, we all were racing. I was out there in front for a while, got caught by a Rwandan. He knew he had good pedal stroke, he had pretty good attitude. We saw riders with good talent.
And then when I start the race, I win it, I cross the line, win, or surprise myself, yeah.
Adrian, he was calm, he had a lot of talent, his power to weight was high, and I could tell already very motivated.
urumva amizero ufite mbese mu mikino niyi nayahe
imikino tugize amahirwe yo kujya dusohoka tugakinana n'abazungu nk'uko njye mbona amizero yaba menshi ku bwacu mu buzima bwacu ndetse no ku gihugu mbona twateza imbere igihugu cyacu.
Talking to Adrian later at this race, and we got big prizes, and we all expected everything to disappear after that.
Now I was telling myself, now it's done. Joker, I don't think he became back in Rwanda.
During that first Wooden Bike Classic, it was clear that Jacques was a natural fit for coaching Team Rwanda. Tom took the next step. He asked Jacques to move to Rwanda to formally evaluate the riders and begin building a team. Jacques Boyer's unique past equipped him to build a professional cycling team 10,000 miles away from home. As teenagers, Jacques Boyer and Tom Ritchie were rising stars who overtook many of North America's top cyclists. Having reached the top of North American cycling by the age of 17, Jacques decided to leave home and pursue his career in Europe and compare himself against the best cyclists in the world.
I was an oddity because, no American had ever come over, and let alone beat them in the races.
After 8 years of living and racing in France, paying his dues in frightening crashes and frightening illnesses, Boyer's become a superb racer. He's 6 foot tall, 135 pounds, and only 1.5% body fat. A vegetarian who has remarkable recuperative powers needed in a race that spans 2,000 miles.
It never really impacted me till much later that it was a big deal being the first American. I had spent 20 years in Europe. I came back, and there was a portion of my life I made some really, really stupid mistakes. I went through a really dark period. I was struggling.
He needed a second chance, just like I needed a second and a third and a fourth chance.
After 2 months, I said, okay, I'll go over there for a couple months and see if we can find some real talent. One of the things that I was wanting to do when I first chose the team was their physiological level, their power level had to be there.
I know the test for school, I know the test for bike. I was not understand the test for bike.
I rode with them every day for over a month, and you can tell which riders naturally shifted right, naturally went down the hills pretty good. And also the essence you feel from a rider, the power, the mind power of suffering. How long are they gonna hang on? Cycling is about suffering. You cannot be a cyclist without going through incredible amounts of pain. Nobody escapes it. I knew these guys are going to be traveling, so I needed personalities. And that was a big deal. If I had two riders with the same power and one was like really charismatic and kind of got it, I did pick them.
Urwego rw'amagare Jacques afatamo twari abantu 15 Jacques afatamo abantu 5 avuga ati iyi ni ikipe ya Team Rwanda.
I thought I had a pretty good group.
Nitwa Uwimana Rafiki Jean de Dieu.
Rafiki was one of the first guys Tom and I met. He was outspoken, always smiling, always happy, and he was strong. So Rafiki was a natural for the team.
My name is Byukusenge Nathan.
Nathan Byukusenge. Nathan is the rebel of the team. You can see in his smile he's a little bit mischievous. He brought something really positive and good to the team.
Banyita Uwase Nyandwi.
Nyandwi was the big plus, and he was strong. And he was riding a bike that was 25 years old, and 2 of 5 gears worked.
Izina ryanjye nitwa Ruhumuriza Aburahamu.
Abraham came in a little bit big of a head, a prima donna. I couldn't ignore him because his numbers were really good. I could tell how much he really cared for his family. Looking at Abraham, you can tell he's been through hell. And he's never talked about it. Abraham has seen some really bad stuff.
Njye nitwa Niyonshuti Adrien.
I was impressed with Adrian in his way of pedaling, his attitude. You could tell he was a real kind person that had a lot more thought in what he was doing than any of the others. When I saw all of that for the first time, I thought there is a chance. I knew that there was a chance, and I think there was a curiosity in it, how far we could go and how good they really were. When I first came here, I heard that there was a genocide here. I heard that, there was stuff that happened, and it really didn't, I didn't let it bother me. I didn't really think about it. I didn't read anything about it. I didn't go to any genocide museum. It wasn't something I really wanted to do. I felt like I was not letting it affect how I looked at things.
Creating a cycling team in Rwanda will require attending to far more than physical needs alone. For 11 years, these young cyclists had lived in the aftermath and psychological turmoil of one of modern-day history's most devastating genocides. The events leading up to the 1994 genocide in Rwanda date back to the 1800s, during the European expansion into Africa. Germany was the first country to colonize Rwanda. After World War I, the Belgians took over and began dividing the population into three ethnic groups: the Hutus, the Tutsis, and a small minority, the Twa. The Tutsis were historically cattlemen, while the Hutus were farmers who lived by agriculture. The colonists created a strict system of racial separation by evaluating physical attributes, such as eye color and nose size. The Belgians issued racial identification cards and officially separated the population into 85% Hutu and 14% Tutsi. The Belgians considered the Tutsi minority superior to the Hutus and granted the Tutsi minority rule over the country. The separation also meant Hutus were denied higher education, land ownership, and position in government. For decades, the Hutus gradually took out their resentment against the Tutsi minority. Hutu extremists began identifying Tutsis as evil cockroaches and began broadcasting hate propaganda over Rwandan radio. They promoted Rwandans to kill Tutsis and opponents of the Hutu regime. In April of 1994, during the early morning hours, civilian militant groups began strategically blockading public roads. The Hutus used the racial identification cards to target Tutsis and separate the population. These militant groups then began systematically executing Tutsis, and thus began the Rwandan genocide as we know it.
Red Cross officials say tens of thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands, have now become victims in the war in Rwanda. Revenge killings have spread from the capital Kigali to the rest of the country. You may find some of the pictures in our report from Rwanda disturbing.
Modern weapons were not the primary means of execution, but rather primitive tools such as machetes and clubs were used to slaughter the victims. Nearly one person was killed every 10 seconds for 100 straight days. Almost 1 million people in 3 months. The war came to an end after the Rwandan Patriotic Front defeated the Hutu-led militia. This rebel army, composed primarily of Tutsi refugees, was led by Paul Kagame, who later became president of Rwanda. During the genocide, many of the cyclists of Team Rwanda were small children between the ages of 5 and 12 years old. Many took refuge in the bordering countries or within the dense forest throughout Rwanda. The riders and thousands of other refugees lived in these conditions for 4 to 18 months after the genocide ended. None of them had any idea of the devastation that was waiting for them back home.
Umubyeyi wanjye papa nkubwira yatwawe nyine n'igihe cy'intambara. Noneho nabo mu muryango aho avuka papa nabo nyine bagiye babica abandi baraho.
Nabiyumvise nk'ibyashoboka kandi ntibishoboke kuko nabanje kubyumva ko ari abantu b'abaturanyi barimo babikora bashiki banjye babuze bashiki wanjye ari umushiki wanjye wundi wari uriho wabanje kubura umugabo we.
Mubwire nabuze data na mukuru wanjye. Ubu ngubu mbana na mama gusa n'ibibazo mfite nabitewe na jenoside kuko nabuze mukuru wanjye na papa. Kuba ari njye mu rugo usigaye uhahira urugo mbese urwitaho nuko nabuze papa na mukuru wanjye.
For the April month, when I ride bike, sometimes I get headaches because I remember a lot of things from my family for genocide here. Before genocide, I was still younger. From my family, I lost my brother. I lost my brother, my brother. And then I lost my family from my mom. All this family was like, I think was like above 60 immediately going. Even now, it's still hard, you know. Yeah.
After I spent time with the riders, it really started to hit me. You know, most of it's all unspoken, just looking at them. The way I could really see their past in their eyes is pretty much how much hope the bike gave them. You could see how much they were hanging on for dear life on the bike because it was their way out.
Nkuko nawe yamfashije kuba ngira ngo nkure mbengeza.
Welcome.
Bonjour. Bonjour.
Elizabeth.
Okay.
Munyemanzi Celestine. Celestine.
Celestine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Banza Elizabeth.
Banza Elizabeth.
Ugira icyo ugeraho ni ukuba ukomeye nyine ku igare. Nkakimenyekanisha neza kandi kinumvikana no ku buri wese ni ukumera neza mu buzima busanzwe. Mfashe famiye yanjye.
Yaza nkamukubita ariko noneho ndishima nageraho nkagira n'agahinda n'umwana wanjye namuhora giki kwashimisha n'abantu bose usanga inyamirambo yose bogeza rafiki noneho nkumva nanjye biraturenze nyine.
C'est bon. Elisa.
Yewe biranshimisha cyane kubera ko nk'umwana ufite imyaka ingana kuriya ukabona abaye nk'uwa kabiri mu gihugu mu Rwanda.
Nitwa Rumuriza Aburahamu, nkaba ntuye mu karere ka Save mu murenge wa Bwinyambo. Mfite abana batatu n'umudamu. Gasete hari igihe kigali kuzikodesha ariko ku kwezi hari nk'igihe mbona nka 45 nkayaryamo n'umugore asigaye nkishyura inzu. Imyaka ubaye na 13 cyane rwose banzeho umuntu w'inyangamugayo ndetse ku byerekeranye n'amagare hari n'igihe nigeze gucika intege ngira ngo mbivemo kubera kubura ibikoresho ugasanga nibo barimo banyinginga kubera ko bankunda cyane kubera ko mbona kuri siporo abantu abaturage bose mbega barankunda cyane birenze uko nabikubwira.
When we first started training, their equipment was 25-year-old equipment. When we were riding, they never really rode in a pack. They chose bigger gears just because that was their training technique. Getting them to eat while they ride, getting them to drink while they ride took months and months and months. It is the most brain-racking trying to figure out ways to get them to trigger to be able to do two things at once. Forget about three things.
Stops when we get flats or mechanical difficulties, it's really not good. Your blood vessels contract. Starting back up again is really hard, and it kind of breaks your whole training. It's kind of annoying, but right now with the equipment and everything, it's hard not to get flats and something wrong. Yanwi broke his chain. If I put a new one on, it would just skip. He needs a whole new crankset and freewheel, and it's a screw on it. It's not a new cassette, so it's impossible to change unless you change the whole bike. Oh man, these bananas by far the best in the world. And it's basically the only thing we can eat out here. Otherwise it's fried bread or some sort of garbage. They taste so good.
In Rwanda, there is a responsibility of whoever earns money to feed whoever they can. So if I give enough money for Rwanda to sustain himself really well food-wise, he is obliged pretty much by the culture to feed as many family members as possible. And since the families, you know, they're having 9, 8 kids each family, he's feeding 20 people, you know, with what I'm giving to him personally. It isn't about the bike here. It is our vehicle. It's the vehicle that, you know, I've been brought up my whole life. So that's the only vehicle that I am the most comfortable with. Same with Tom.
Having seen these young riders' potential, it was now time to put them to the test.
Our first race for the riders was the Cape Epic in South Africa, which is probably the most grueling mountain bike stage race in the world.
Just myself, I surprised. I say, oh, I'm gonna go South Africa racing with that strong guys I saw in the TV. What I'm gonna do there? Because I was not think I can be strong to race with the top guys.
Regarded as the most prestigious mountain bike stage race in the world, the Cape Epic has been called the Tour de France of mountain biking. The race attracts over 1,000 top riders from around the world to compete for 8 days across South Africa's most rugged terrain.
I picked Rafiki because he was strong, plus he knew English. He was a good, charismatic person for talking to people. The press would be like a new team. Adrian, I picked solely on he was smooth. It looked like he could handle a bike well, because this was a grueling mountain bike race. Adrian, he had never been out of his home area. He'd never been anywhere. Never been on a plane, never been in a... Adrian, I don't think he'd ever been in a car. He had been in a bus, but he'd never been in a car.
I said, now I'm going to South Africa.
Adrian didn't know any English. He knew a little French, so he would just smile. The processing they would have to be going through is only probably comparable to a newborn baby. Most of the all of the media on Rwanda has always been negative. I think everybody wanted to know what on earth a Rwandan team was doing at the Cape Epic. To see a bike team here with obviously Rwandan riders was striking. The only mountain bike experience the riders had were at the Rwandan Bike Classic in 06, and they had never been on the mountain bike before or after. and since the Wooden Bike Classic.
Mu buzima bwanjye kuva nabaho nari nzi ko wenda nshobora kuba narabonye ibintu bitinyitse.
Kurusha isi ibyo ntabwo nari mbizi, sinenzi ko biriya binabaho.
I would say that it's going to be really important that we stay in front for the first 2-3 days, because the really strong riders that aren't good at stage races start to really fatigue after 3 and 4 days, and they'll just like disappear. So it's going to be really important that we just stay in the front-ish group until then, and then when the others start pinging off the front, just hold our own.
I remember I told Jack that I think I'm not gonna survive to finish this race. none ubu turakora ibirometero 100 tutari tuzi ko bibaho.
It was hard. We just stayed with the front group. Adri did unbelievable today. And some of the pros came up to him and said, hey, man, you're up front.
Namanukaga nkagenda nkamanuka igare noneho ryajyaho rigafata umuvuduko rikangwisha nkahariya nko mu gihuru. Abantu bari bafite ibimoto binini by'amapine manini bakaza kureba ko napfuye, baza bagasanga ndimo ndegura igare.
N'ubwa mbere twuriye amagare ukoraho feri ikihagarika, uragonga dodani wakora kuri feri wacunga nabi rikabarira kurenza. I was broken. I was literally broken.
I mean, there's so many things he can improve on, and he's still up front. He's going to be a contender because he's got some raw talent that's untamed right now.
I think the one thing he gave me to believe is joy.
He could dig deeper. Very surprising to a lot of people to see them, not just from Rwanda, but to see them racing at that level.
Rwanda ubu ngubu icyo mbona n'urugezemo n'utubona turi hano agatekereza icyo gihugu yumva bavuga cyabayemo ibintu navuga bikomeye cyane by'ubwicanyi n'ibiki n'ubugome akabona turi hano. If you don't believe, if you don't want to suffer, you cannot survive to do cycling.
Mountain bikes versus road bikes has always been kind of a question for us. Tom is really pro mountain bikes. I'm more road bikes.
You know, the background of Jacques and his side on road and his relationships and all is something that is what it is. And Jacques is available and he's committed on the ground.
I like both. both road bikes and mountain bikes. I chose road bikes primarily because I was a road bike racer. After I got out of the jail, the first time I rode a bike, it was hard. I knew it was going to be hard because I hadn't been riding. I hadn't even been exercising for, 9 months. One of the shocking things when you get out is colors and living things. You can't imagine the change of getting out and just experiencing life because you didn't have it before. Everything was gone. I ended up in jail because I overstepped my boundaries with a minor, a girl, and ended up pleading guilty to 10 counts of lewd behavior with a minor. It was all a consequence of just really, really seriously bad judgment calls. Once I got out, it was, regrouping. And I was really fortunate, my life's always been cycling. And I had gone off that. God had given me gifts in athletics. I chose cycling, and my purpose was using those gifts. Adrian rides a bike because, his past haunts him. Now that I'm thinking of it now, I got out of jail and I got on my bike. It gives you time to think.
Despite Team Rwanda's recent success, the next challenge remained. Could these gifted riders embrace the suffering that was unique to road cycling? The answer to these questions awaited them in America.
I wanted to know if they had a chance because a VO2 test will determine their potential. A VO2 test is a test that measures your ability to process oxygen through your lungs and get it to your blood, to your muscles. It's mostly genetically determined because it goes on how much oxygen you can process per minute per kilo of body weight. Yeah. Inside. Put it in your mouth. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
So these numbers are good, and I think that you guys are better than these numbers.
I think Adrian has got the most talent, and even testing at UC Davis, he definitely has the most genetic potential. Silver City, the Tour de Gila. I called up the organizers, and they were instantly wanting us to come. They had no idea riders could ride so fast. It was an eye-opening experience for them. I needed them to feel like no matter how they finished, it's going to be a good thing for them. And I didn't want them to get discouraged, which was inevitable. Adrian lasted the longest, and even then, he didn't last, I think, more than half the race. It was the hardest races they've ever been. They were just toasted. They had a good sense of humor about it. I mean, even Abraham, he was telling jokes, and they were all just laughing about it, even though it was just tragic.
That's
good, huh?
Yeah.
Yes? Yeah, okay.
Maybe.
These races might be hard, but it's nowhere near as hard as the pro races. I mean, there's no comparison to that.
When will they do the first pro races, you think? Do you have any idea?
They might never.
Yeah.
Don't know. Depends on how they adapt and how well they do.
Go.
Walk on the road, let's take it, 'cause my spirit's been waking to the voice of Jehovah. There's no rush or rush from the tide, no more industrial fires when you're walking on the way.
You have to have a certain mindset to be able to persevere. It comes in two parts. If you have the physical, you can't make it without the mental. When you go down, you get up and get on your bike and start moving. Skin rash is skin rash. They got to get used to it.
Abraham, no training tomorrow.
Abraham is good.
You see me?
This is easy.
No,
Yeah, it's easy.
no.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah, okay, easy. But when?
Yeah, you just must learn. They're very bonded riders. Jim Click gave us the Econoline van, you know, a 5-bench seater. They spent the whole time on one bench seat. You know, I even had to reduce the amount of rooms I got because they preferred 2 and 3 in the bed. You know, I'd get 1 hotel room instead of 3 hotel rooms. They'd put all the mattresses in one room and all sleep in one room. You know, when you share really bad times together, even though they might not have been in the same city or town, there is an understanding that you made it too.
Is it good? Dore kiranandusha. Shaka yiruka ndakemera. Ibi byo shaka yiruka. Uretse.
Nabonye ibyiza byinshi, ariko ikintu cyanshimishije ni abantu bahatuye. Nasanze bafite umutima mwiza.
Everywhere we went, it just kept getting the notch higher and higher of how incredibly warm and welcoming Americans can be to people from foreign countries. You know, their abilities are up there, but there's still hundreds of other riders. It's my job to make sure they're perfectly fit and try to get that message across that this is the ticket that they need to be taking. When we went back to Rwanda from USA, they feared that when we got back, we were just going to pull out and that was going to be it. No, there's no talent, we're going home. Rwanda is prone to a lot of nonprofits coming in, spending a year, maybe 2 years if they're lucky, and then just leaving. Since they have not created a self-sustaining business, it just falls apart. So whatever they started basically is only good for the time that they're there. Adrian is the example. He kept asking me, when are you going to leave? Are you going to leave us?
I hear the riders, they say, no, Jockey is going to back America, not gonna leave us. That I was asking him, are you going back? I want to know. If you're going back, I was supposed to stop cycling from that time. And then when he say, I'll be with you all the time, don't worry, I'll be here. Then I say, yeah. If you are here, I'm going to be concentrated for cycling.
My dad was very unique. He was a dreamer. He was a uranium prospector and kind of a gold miner, you know, always searching for that mother lode. And very unconventional, always had a remedy for something, always looked to nature for something. And he was also uncanny with animals. It was, yeah, it was too bad we never spent too much time with him. You know, we didn't see him for a long time when my parents got separated. We had to go to Thompson, Wyoming to pick the train, the Vista Cruiser to California. Yeah, my dad and the dog drove alongside the train. Waving, and being 6 years old, we didn't really know what was going on, but we knew that we weren't going to see him again. Yeah, that was the saddest day of my life. And when Adrian, kept asking me, I think when Adrian kept asking me, are you going to leave? I could empathize with it. My dad left. I wasn't going to let that happen.
I come close with Jock friends because he didn't lie. Me, I take him like my father or my brother.
Let's see, it's 10 minutes before the start and nothing's happening, so, it's Africa. This is Africa.
$9:55. Looks like we're getting close to the start. It's kind of a mess, but hey, it's interesting. The numbers are these bibs. They're kind of, you got to see them. They're pretty different. So everybody basically will have the same jersey, so you will not be able to tell anybody. But when we came back to the Tour of Rwanda, this was the first time that they could actually compare their fitness level before they went to America and after. They didn't have any gauge because they were always getting beaten and always hanging on for dear life.
Team Rwanda claimed uncontested victory in all 9 stages of the 2007 Tour of Rwanda.
Finishing line he's coming together, so I'm very happy because team is team.
The last 2 years at the Tour, we had over 3 million spectators. It was the first time that the country really put it on the radar. It was like, these guys come back, they look good, they got new bikes, you know, they have kits that are just spectacular, and they were recognized everywhere. The riders definitely do pay the price for being successful. You know, not everybody handles it well. When they go on trips, when they're on the team, everybody thinks they're just loaded with money.
Some people is crazy, you know.
They know we are very, very, very rich.
Rafiki, when he came from America, you know, Rafiki was staying in Mokigali. When he was working, go back home, some people catch him, ask him money.
Everybody he knows, we go, we take airplane every time, many times. We go outside, we went to many places.
He called us, said, hey guys, don't go in night because most people here, you know, you have money. If we catch you, gonna kill you. If we catch you, gonna be big problem. So.
Not only do they get harassed by their own family members, they get threats from the community of people that just want their money. Abraham he's had a really hard life, especially in the last 3 years. He lost his mother, unknown illness, she just died. 2 months later, his wife got ill one night. He brought her to the hospital, and by morning she was dead. The youngest one, he had to give up for adoption because he couldn't take care of 3 kids alone.
N'amarozi barabarozi hari bagira ngo hari ndakize ntazaba niko kintu je nabonye uko byatangiye kuko bari bazi ko nakize mvuye muri Amerika nkize byabaye ngombwa yuko ubwo nimuka nizabe nkajya gukodesha mu mujyi ibintu bye byambaye ubonye amarigi bambaye
Something in the future has to be structured to where families do get supported, but in a way that they're not the direct target of that sort of aggression.
Within 4 years, this family of riders had outgrown their original training center and moved to a new facility based in the northern region of Rwanda.
I went from 5 riders to 18 riders just by testing riders and recognizing that a lot of these riders needed bikes. Team Rwanda will never be more than like 12 riders. I need to get riders that are strong, that can ride with the other riders, so they all improve themselves.
Go on, keep going. He's one of the better ones that we test in this group, and he's got a good pedal stroke. Typical week for our riders here is Mondays, they ride their bikes to training camp, which is between 4-hour ride to some of them are like a 7-hour ride. So they arrive in the afternoon, we feed them, they get English lessons in the evening.
Each day of the week, they have different training schedules. They get 3 really good meals a day, and then on Fridays, they go home. The team has become a family. It's, especially the older ones, they bind the newer ones. And as soon as the newer one come in, it's not like they're an outcast until a certain amount. They really integrate the new ones into the team. I don't make favorites. If they screw up, they screw up. They get a consequence. I think as hard as I am, they know I am just totally devoted to them. And I think that's what enables me to get done what I get done. Either you tell the truth or you don't tell the truth, man. You are on probation here. Il est en probation. S'il est straight, he's okay. If he makes a mistake, you finish. Okay? Do you understand that? Huh? Complete. Look at me in the eye. Do you understand that? If you screw up, it is finished. I take your bike, you go home, you do what you ever want. Okay? That means telling the truth in everything. Tu dois dire la vérité en tout. Sinon, c'est fini. Il a une deuxième chance. Il n'aura pas une troisième chance. Okay? You have to be. Je te supporte à 100% s'il est droit. Mais il ne faut pas jouer avec moi. Il faut lui dire. J'écoute tout et je vois tout. Okay? So, I mean, they're terrified of me at times when I get mad. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, discipline is really good. It's a lot more than just coaching. It's being involved with their lives. I need, and I continue to need, to seed them ideas that will give them an image of where they can go. Adrian is our biggest hope for the other riders because he's setting the bar high enough where they already imagine themselves they can be at that level.
Adrian Nyanshuti became the first cyclist of the original 5 to ride professionally for one of South Africa's top cycling teams.
It's the tipping point where the generations to come will really be able to succeed.
Banyita Gasore Hategeka, nkaba ndi umunyarwanda, nkaba nkomoka mu karere ka Nyabihu, umurenge wa Bigogwe.
Gasore, he got on the team, he was just passionate about cycling, saved his money, finally got a little, single speed bike. And the first time I tested him, he was just off the charts. He's got to get a bike.
Aravuga ngo mbese ko ushobora ko turi kubona ufite imbaraga waje gukina kuruse. Va mu byo gushona ibirayi, nerekeza umutima aho igahare, hatireka ngerageze ndebe.
Yeah, I met Gasore when I was come from South Africa. I was happy to see Gasore that time until now, yeah.
With Adrian, the star of the team, Adrian came back and they just absolutely connected. And because of it, he's improved. To have someone from the East and someone from the North, be such good friends is a feat. They could have been mortal enemies. Even their regions were places where they fought.
For cyclists or any sport, you don't have to separate, you have to be together.
bitewe no kwiyubaka se iyo umuntu yiyubaka agenda ibintu biba bibaye bishya ukagenda mwiyubaka mwese ibintu ukagenda byibagirana hakaza amahoro.
I mean, for Gasori to see Adrian, that is his way that he realizes it's possible. That is his hope. And he sees it in what is becoming his best friend.
Akazi kanje nkaba ntwara igare na n'isaha nta n'ibyo mba nicaye aha ngaha ariko ntegereje gutwara kumva biranshimishije cyane.
I look after Gasori and then I think even him will look after me.
The Continental Championships in 2010, Rwanda bid for and got it. And this was an Olympic selection race for the 2012 London Olympics. And it was really important that Rwanda had it because then we would have a home advantage. We could put all 8 riders into the race. That would help Adrian because he would have a lot more rider support for the race. Winning this race or even qualifying for the Olympics would completely change Adrian's life. It would put him on the map. It would change it not just financially, but also give the country another real hope for cycling in their future.
Yeah, if I get this selection, I don't know how I can say it's gonna be amazing for me. Yeah.
You know, the professional peloton's a tough place to be in. The guys are fighting for the win. They want to take all the money, so if there's a new rider that's in their way, they just push him around. At this championships, the first 2 nations will qualify for the Olympic Games. So what Adrian needs to do is go for the first 8 positions, because anything can happen.
It happens regularly that I'm in a race and my friend is down the road and I've actually got to ride against one of my best friends. And it's the same here. This might be my only shot, this might be his only shot at the Olympics, and it would change my life as well. Whoever gets to the end deserves to be there. There's no hiding on this course whatsoever.
I instructed the riders that every breakaway, every time somebody tries to go off the front, that there's got to be a Rwandan in each group. Otherwise, we would have the burden of trying to catch that group. Gasori in the front group is part of that strategy. Gasori being in front so early in the race would kind of make it almost impossible for him to win the race, but it serves a big purpose for Adrian not having to chase or work for that group. The pack catches Gasori, and there's a counterattack. Adrian is in the counterattack. Gasori is between the counterattack and going in the back. Adrian is in the front group. We've got Dan Craven from Namibia. We got a couple South Africans. This is the group that will go to the finish line. The winner of the race is in this group. When the first group comes through and I don't see Adrian, my heart is just, oh my goodness, something mechanical happened.
Adrian pushes through the final climb, and as he shifts gears, his chain fractures and snaps in half. As Gasore rounds the corner, he finds Adrian and knows his friend's chances of a top finish are diminishing by the second. Without a moment's hesitation, Gasore gives his bike to Adrian and gives up his own chances of a top finish. In competitive cycling, bikes are strategically calibrated for specific riders. To maximize his power, Adrian must simultaneously adjust Gasore's seat height while trying to overcome a nearly insurmountable loss of 60 seconds.
A minute on 2 laps to go, it's huge. It's almost impossible. Adrian catches the pack, and as he catches the pack, the winning break of 3 riders go. Dan got second and got the Olympic bid. Dan was happy but also disappointed because, you know, Adrian is one of his heroes.
Cold is the water. It freezes your already cold mind. Already cold, cold mind. And death is at your doorstep. And it will steal your innocence. But it will not steal your substance. But you are not alone in this. And you are not alone in this. As brothers we will stand and we'll hold your hand. Hold your hand.
Team Rwanda is not just about biking, it's about relationships, it's about reconciliation, it's about groups of people that in another situation wouldn't get along, but in this particular situation, they're allies, they're best friends, and they become lifelong friends.
The one to whom you gave life. And you have your choices. These are what make man great, his ladder to the stars. But you are not alone in this. And you are not alone in this. As brothers we will stand and we'll hold your hand.
Yeah, the game was not over. I told myself the game was not over because I know I can make it for mountain bike.
I didn't get my hopes up. I knew that possibility was there.
And you are not alone in this.
Adrian he's a remarkable young man that can weather through things.
Hold your hand.
He crossed the finish line and got the Olympic bid.
Numva ari ibintu bizaba birenze mukuri muri rusange ntabona uko mvuga muri aka kanya gusa nuko bihanga amaso nkareba uko bizaba bimeze icyo gihe.
Immediately it went on the radio in Rwanda and the whole country rejoiced. The Olympics for him will be a culmination of a big journey, but also the start of a new one. Everything else, whether it's trophies or anything, really doesn't have any value unless you can use it to something to better other people. Yeah, no matter what you do in life, if you can do something like this, you've done something. Done something of value.
Rider number 44, representing Rwanda, Adrian Niyonshuti. And the cheers ringing out for Adrian Niyonshuti, the man who exemplifies the Olympic spirit. A great story behind this rider, coming from Rwanda to compete at the Olympic Games. The fairy tale continues for the man from Rwanda, the man with the amazing story, Adrian Niyonshuti.
dust from the tires, no more industrial fires when you're walking on the way. Ain't nothing solid here, nothing to hold you up, so you better be keeping my gaze. Pay more attention, child, therefore to what you have heard, so you do not drift away. Child, don't you worry, I will not drift away. Ooh, child, don't you worry, I will not drift away. Walk on. Walk